Please listen carefully.
Why, hello everybody, and welcome to the fourth official episode of Hypothetical Siblings. I'm Lainey.
I'm Nick.
And how are you guys doing this week? Living your best lives? I know you can't
I'm
answer.
doing alright. It's alright.
How are you doing?
I didn't know I was a part of everyone.
Oh, I was talking to them.
Am I a special exception now?
Well, sure.
I can't be. No, we have a space now, which is probably why we sound a little bit different.
Yeah, hopefully you noticed, because otherwise, it's all for nothing.
It's all for nothing. It's comfy. It's a
It
lot
is
more comfortable
It
than
is.
the last space.
It is more comfortable.
Less echoey.
Got some decorations.
More wooden.
Much more wooden.
Significantly more wood. Oh.
So,
Oh, am I going first? I was
Oh.
going to ask how your week.
Oh,
we still
yeah,
need the
ask
baton.
me.
We talked about the
Oh,
baton like a month ago
I
now.
forgot that. The first episode.
I know.
Yeah, no. I should do that still.
A real hypothetical baton.
Yeah. I got beads. I got string. You just need a stick. And how hard is it to find a stick?
We have a backyard. Like, you just go to the backyard.
Yeah. We do have a backyard.
There's the hypothetical, not real baton.
Oh, I thank you very much, sir.
See, is it still a real hypothetical baton?
I don't know if you can say real and hypothetical together, unless you're saying it's a real.
Because it is actually hypothetical.
Right
as opposed
now.
to a hypothetical real baton. Is that?
Listen, I don't know English. Stop trying to come after me.
Clearly.
We both were raised on gibberish, and you know it.
Yeah, my first language is not English, it's gibberish. That's 1,000% true.
Yeah. Got that from my dad.
My dad.
My daddy.
My daddy.
Well, my week was exciting. For, I think, the third week in a row now, I've celebrated one of my friends' birthdays.
Why are all your friends born at the same time?
I don't know. End of April, beginning of May, and now it's mid-May.
Yeah.
3 right in a row.
Mid-May.
And they're all good friends, too. They're not just like...
People you know.
Yeah.
Like they're close friends.
They're like close friends, yeah. So we went to the park and social distancing hung out, which was super fun. Also, if you sit on a blanket under a tree in a park for a long time, you run into lots of bugs.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with every kind of bug except spiders, which aren't technically bugs. But I ended up making friends with a bee and a caterpillar who
At the same time?
No, at different times, who I both saved. And then I kept trying to give my friends ants, and they didn't want them.
Why are you trying to hand bugs to your friends? Also, you said spiders are not bugs. Are bugs specifically insects, or are
I
bugs...
think so. Oh, well, spiders are not insects, right? Because
No,
they're arachnids.
They're arachnids.
So, I guess some people would call them bugs. But I kind of feel like they're not bugs.
I also feel like they're not really bugs.
I saw one that day because we were just in the park for so long. And it had its hands raised at me.
Yeah, I said, get out of here. It's my turf.
Which was stupid because it was my blanket. Get off my blanket.
La Rana Loca. The crazy spider. It's his turf. Get out of here.
Now you're the Spanish bitch.
It's me. We have to have one every week to prove that we are... I don't know. We're still white. We're still little white kids.
A segment is introduced. Spanish bitch.
That Spanish bitch. Whoever it may be. We're going to have one of our friends who actually speaks Spanish, like, regularly on this podcast at some point. And then it'll be really weird because we'll be like, you're that Spanish bitch. And they're like, I'm Mexican. And they're like, all right, well, you did the bit.
Well, commit to the bit.
Commit to the bit. But they can't commit. The thing about this new space, I almost called it a studio. It is not a studio.
I keep calling it pod loft, but I don't know if... but what's a loft? You know what I mean?
I mean, we are lofted. You know,
Off the ground.
we are elevated, yeah. No one will know. We can never say what this space actually is because we can. I mean, if we do, not because we can't have them know what it is.
What? Right.
Right. But because the mystery of like us now seemingly floating off the ground, you know,
is in their brains.
is in all of you're idiots. I think that we're just floating. fools.
That's funny because I was considering posting a picture of it and be like, welcome to our pod loft.
Welcome to the pod loft.
But I think that it's fun to have mystery. Maybe
Yeah,
I'll
the
just
mystery
take
is what's
close-up
important.
pictures so they can't see the whole
Of
thing.
just what? Like a pillow?
Like our plant.
I like our plant.
It's hanging. It's a hanging plant.
It's not a real plant. It's plastic.
Don't say that.
Why?
Ruin the mystery.
The mystery of... I'm pretty sure... I mean, it looks pretty convincing.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know.
I couldn't put a real plant in here. There's no sun.
Yeah. Now it's a cave. It's a cave that we're floating in.
Floating in a cave.
Yeah.
That's real.
That is real. So besides your friends' birthdays...
I mean, I've seen a lot of our family this week for some reason, which is fine, good.
Yeah.
It's fun because our cousins are starting to get older, and so, like, we have real conversations with them.
Yeah, there's
Which-
like the real family conversation. It's
Right.
not just a polite whatever because you can't talk about whatever's actually happening.
Right. Now it's, like, real shit, and,
Yeah.
like, you get to say shit,
Yeah.
and it's fine,
Mhm.
and that kind of stuff. So, I'm really enjoying that part of getting older,
Mm-hmm.
is, like, real conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's great. I had dinner with you and our, I was going to say our mutual friend, which...
I mean, she, yes, is, but she is also my girlfriend.
and that was a great night.
Well, because that's the first time you've seen her in, like,
And,
I mean, since quarantine. Right? So
yeah.
2 months.
Mm-hmm. And starting up work tomorrow for me, which is so exciting. I'm so excited.
Because you were just promoted at
Yes.
your work.
I am a supervisor now, so come at me, world.
Which means you get to be involved in hiring people.
Right,
Which is
which is what I'm doing
a
tomorrow.
hilarious job. It's probably my favorite part of that job.
I can't wait to judge people over Zoom.
Correct. Well, I mean, judge people in general, but the years and years that I did hiring for that same place, because she's working at a place that I also worked, didn't we say vaguely, not like what it is, but like, we said it's seasonal, I know that.
Didn't we say we were cashiers? But I think
Oh,
that's
yeah,
it.
we said we were cashiers at like a fruit stand or something like that.
Oh, the ice cream.
Ice cream stand.
Ice cream
That's
stand.
fruit stand.
Fruit.
Um,
There's barely any fruit there.
There's fruit.
Yeah,
You
barely.
could buy it sliced. Like a cup of... Can't you... Oh, can you not do that?
No, you can.
Oh.
But I mean, like, really? You know?
Yeah. You know.
Really?
But the best part about hiring is that the majority of people that we're hiring are not adults, right? They're not
Yeah.
even 16 usually.
Yeah.
And so they are children that are trying to figure out how to do things. And just the sweetest, like, cringiest 14-year-old, just the real cream of the crop, where you're like my favorite last year, there was a girl that we were hiring, and we said, hey, go ahead and, very basic interview question, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself. She goes, well, I don't like when people get all up in my face. And I was like, that's not really a personality trait. Like, that's just kind of...
Does anyone like
I was
that?
going to say, I don't feel like anyone likes that.
Especially at a job.
Yeah.
Like, no.
But I was like, am I getting in your face? Is that why this is like... I mean, I didn't ask her, but I was like, sure. And then, of course, she ended up being a political hire. And so it was one of those where the boss kind of comes in beforehand and is like, hey, we're going to hire this person. This interview is just a formality.
And you're like, great.
And then they ask after how the interview went, and I was like, I would not hire her if I had an option to not hire her.
Yeah.
And then, of course, she was hired, but she did fine.
Yeah, she did well.
Yeah. So,
It's fine.
it's fine.
I'm excited, though.
You should be. I think you'll have a good time.
Woohoo.
Especially because it sounds like the process is a little watered down since it's over Zoom.
Right, well, and yeah, there have been some steps not usually taken beforehand to even weed it out even further.
Oh, to kind of vet some of the applicants.
Yep, so should be good.
That's exciting.
Yeah. You want to tell about your work yesterday?
Oh,
'Cause
yeah.
you went back.
I did. I just went back to generic sports retailer for the first time in 2 months. It was actually 2 months to the day as well. I left March 16th and I came back May 16th, which is neat. Saw a lot of people that I hadn't seen, which of course is always a good thing. Oh man, you get used to not being on your feet for 8 hours, and then all of a sudden you're on your feet for 8 hours and your legs cramped. I have a video that I took yesterday. I got home and I kicked my feet up on the couch and just a divot in my calf, just a cramp to end all cramps, just twitching and a hole in my leg. It was pretty rough. But still good to go and be a productive member of society.
Yeah, instead of just sitting.
Right. I mean, the nice thing is that there's so few people, because all of the stores that are able to open right now are only able to open to half capacity.
Right.
So, as opposed to the regular 500 million people that are just inside of the store at any given moment, there's only 150 allowed in the store, and we are a pretty large store. We're actually the largest within some number. It's not even the state. It's like a radius, so 150 people is really nothing. The wait to get into the store is like an hour, right? But the nice thing about that is that everyone that comes in is actually looking to buy something. They have a goal.
Right.
Because no one waits in a store for an hour just to be like, no, I'll walk around inside.
Right.
Yeah,
you're not waiting in line 6 feet apart from the people in front of you to be like, maybe I want...
Exactly. And maybe they don't know which model or which brand of a thing they want, but they know they want a flashlight, or they know they want a...
Fishing pole.
Fishing pole, there you go. It's a generic sports thing. Exactly. Other than that, speaking of aging, in regards to our cousins and everything like that, well, you talking about our cousins and them aging, I felt myself age because I had to deconstruct a doghouse today.
Yes, and while Nick and our mom deconstructed a doghouse, I did laundry and the dishes.
Oh, were you doing laundry?
Yeah.
Was it yours or was it everybody's?
Everybody's.
Wow.
So, just call me Mom now.
Basically. Mom.
I'm a big legend now.
Big legend.
I went from never having done my own laundry to doing everybody's laundry.
Yeah.
Call that growing up.
But yeah, the whole thing about aging is that I tweaked my back. Like,
you did?
Yeah, like up in the left, like kind of below my shoulder blade, but still left of my spine. Just that muscle back there. I don't know, what is that, like a trap? Traps are high, though. Oh, no, but it's a big, like, rhombus shape.
I haven't taken PE since elementary school, and I've never taken an anatomy class.
Really?
So I don't know
Even in biology or anything like that?
Nope. I took environmental science.
I should have taken environmental science.
Chemistry. And I took bio in like 8th grade, but
there you go.
That didn't matter. I didn't retain anything when I was in 8th grade.
Just blowing up bottle rockets.
I was mean in 8th grade.
What? Why were you mean?
Like, I have 2 memories of, like, slapping people.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Listen, I'm great now. I recognize that I was peak awful in middle school.
I mean, if there's a place to peak in being awful, I feel like middle school is a good place to do that.
Yeah. And if none of you believe me, listen, I'm too anxious to even think about being mean to people, okay? I can't do it.
Yeah, we were talking about it the other day, and Lainey and I are both the kind of person who, when given moral choices in video games, will only play the good... That's not true. You've slaughtered thousands.
Do you remember?
What are you
what's
talking
that
about?
show? Or what's that game? Fablehaven.
No, it was Fable 2. Fablehaven is a book series. Fable 2.
I decided to just be so bad, which was hilarious because in that game, the worse you are, the worse you look.
Uh-huh.
So I started sprouting horns, and I had like black veins and blue skin, and I was glowing, and and then I tried to like reverse it because I had a child, and so I started being really good. But every time I went to a different town, the bells were ringing to come get me.
Go figure that your virtual children would be the key to your salvation.
Yeah, and my husband hated me. His name was Ernie. He kept calling me a whore.
I mean, you're kind of being a whore. You know, that's what it comes down to.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, well, I'll retract that for my dear sister here then. But myself, I have the anxiety of playing video games, especially in series like Mass Effect or The Walking Dead, where it's really clear, like, this is the bad thing, this is the good thing.
Right.
I can only ever do the good thing because doing the bad thing makes me feel bad.
I don't play enough video games like that to
Right.
have that experience, but I kind of feel like it might
those
be
kinds
the
of
same.
video games are very involved. Like, I feel like you're much more casual about your video games. Like, pick up, put it down.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
So, stuff like that. But yeah, tweak my back. It's not that bad, but it was one of those where I'm like, oh, I'm getting old now.
He says that, audience, but if you knew how old he really was, you'd be like, oh, a youngin'. Well, I mean, I guess depends who you are, but...
if we're just getting listened to by a bunch of, 10-year-olds, you know?
Which I hope not.
Yeah, well, I mean,
well,
hey.
I mean, they could, but, I
don't care.
might feel bad. I feel like their parents would yell at me.
That's a thing. But, I mean, if it's a 10-year-old listening to this podcast and they have the ability to, I feel like they're either smart enough / mature enough to be, figure it out for themselves, or their parent is probably a bad parent and is just like, listen to this garbage, or gave them free reign over the internet, in which case I am not at fault,
Yeah. Which we have, I don't know how many listeners. I think maybe 13. So
really?
Yeah.
That's a real number. That is.
So thank you.
Thank you, all 13
listening.
of you.
Yeah.
Half of you are our family, and have probably
friends.
and friends, and have maybe done so out of obligation. But the other 6 of you, 2 of you apparently in Germany.
2 streams of Germany. I don't know if that's listeners.
Oh, it's one person streaming twice.
Maybe, possibly.
They liked it so much they listened to it twice.
Twice.
Just right in a row. They're like, that was so good once. Let's do it again. But, they said it in German.
Yeah, which we don't know German.
I don't know any German. Our father knows German.
Yeah, I almost started counting in French.
Good. That wouldn't be offensive.
Because I thought I knew one in German, and then I said it in French in my head. Oh, yeah.
Ein, zwei, drei.
Wow.
I think that's probably... Even if it is correct, the pronunciation is probably super garbage.
I only know, a couple of words in German, like Guten Tag and stuff. But one of them is butterfly. Schmetterling.
Schmetterling. I like Schmetterling.
Yeah, me too.
I like the names of animals in other languages is something that's always interested me, because I feel like there are some that I've come across that are just more appropriate.
Yeah.
Right? So like a duck in Spanish, pato.
Pato. Yeah.
Right? It's more appropriate because it's the sound their feet make.
Right. Pat, pat. Yeah, yeah, totally. Or like Mao. Is that, I don't know what language that is, but that's a word for cat in another language. I don't remember what language, though. I think it's an Asian language.
Oh my god. We're fucking 17 minutes in and my left leg is already asleep. Completely and totally.
Because you're too tall.
I am too long for this room. Shrink to defeat capitalism, just like last week.
Shrink to defeat capitalism.
Oh, I could do without a few of these inches.
Yeah, you think so?
I think so.
I've always wanted to be taller.
No, I don't know. I mean, the real goal is just being able to control it, right? Like being like, I'm just going to shrink up for today.
Oh.
You know?
Do you think Tonks from Harry Potter can do that?
I have no idea.
I
haven't read that far.
Well, because I know she can morph her appearance and
change your hair color and stuff.
Yeah, well, in one of the books, she disguises herself as an old woman, so she can and she has that pig snout she can do and stuff, so she can really change.
Interesting.
But I wonder, I kind of feel like she can't do height, but I don't know.
I don't know.
That'd be cool though.
That would be neat. I'm getting pins and needles in my leg now, and it's not great.
He just made this face, and I'm really
slowly,
thought he was gonna
slowly dying.
Yeah, I don't know, freak out.
Slowly dying quickly.
That's wrong.
It's I feel like I'm gonna derail this whole podcast because I'm just gonna have a spasm and flop onto the floor from our elevated position.
That's fine.
And of course, the other part of my week is I've been watching a fair few episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which came out just 2 days ago on Friday. But of course, we'll talk about that more in a little bit. Other than that, going to work and stuff like that, kind of really nothing.
Yeah.
Still cruising, waiting for the world to open back up.
Oh, yeah. I bought 2 tapestries by accident.
You did. She meant to buy 1 tapestry, which was at cost of what, $60?
$65.
$65.99 or whatever it was.
Yeah, whatever.
And when the shopping cart told her that her order was about $100, she decided that that's fine. It's probably just shipping.
I really thought it was just shipping. I was like, it rounded up. Not realize the guy had put another size of it in the cart as well.
So my thing is, how do you think that shipping is that expensive?
I feel like I just wasn't really there. You know, I wasn't
Like
coherent.
you were having like an ethereal experience or out of body experience, and you were
No.
just fucking ordered tapestries with your corporeal form. Your spirit
No,
was in the mind zone.
I don't know. I feel like I just was kind of just like, okay, that's how much it costs. Like, and just accepted it and moved on. And I was like,
What a goon.
the only reason it's higher is because shipping, and that's all it could be.
What an absolute
Even though it told
goon.
me shipping was only $9.
Terrible. Absolutely terrible. But easy solution. I don't know if your plan for that tapestry for the person it's going to go to. I don't know if they listen to the podcast, so you might have just outed yourself.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Because I decided I could have changed it, but then I realized she would really like it as a present for her birthday.
For her approximate birthday.
Yeah, which was Saturday.
There you go.
So it's a funny story, and I think she'll appreciate it more than be mad about it.
Oh, I was also talking about with my roommate last night, ordering tapestries for the walls because we have yet to put up anything in our house except for, so my roommate that I've talked about before, the giant one, has a printed cutout of himself, almost like a fat head, if any of you know what that is, but a life-size poster, effectively, of himself wearing cowboy boots with dollar bills in his waistband and a gun in his hand. And it is a full 6 foot 8 inches just nailed to the wall in our living room.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the only decoration in that room. So,
I mean, you have that Three Stooges poster.
oh yeah, there's like a Three Stooges and something about golf and friendship or
Yeah.
something like that. Placed ever so lovingly over our rack of alcohol.
Golf and friendship.
Golf and friendship. There you go. But yeah, I think that pretty much does it for my week. Did I even play any video games? No, my computer's kind of dying, and so I can't really play video games on it.
You could come hang out and play the Switch with me.
Or I could just bring my PS4 over here and we can play those games that I've wanted you to play.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, do that.
maybe we'll do that this week.
Yeah, because I think we work kind of the same days, so.
Yeah,
I only work Monday and Friday, though.
I work neither of those days.
You work Tuesday, Wednesday?
No.
Oh.
Did I even tell you my schedule? Or are you just taking shots in the
No, I
dark?
thought you told it to me, but I guess I just didn't remember.
Or you weren't listening. These things
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, I feel like my hearing's not that great, and I have a tendency to zone out a lot, so those two combined is just really...
It's not a great situation for
Mm-mm.
anybody.
Really not. Also, I end up being really loud, which is sometimes funny, but for most part is
Just
probably
a
not
problem.
great. Yeah. I don't really realize it, but I'm sure other people do.
Yeah. Excellent.
Okay.
Unless you got anything else.
Nah. I feel like we're in a weird medium where, like, we're not doing weird things because it's quarantine, but we're not doing real things because everything's not completely open.
Right.
So, like, we're kind of back to doing nothing because we can kind of... We're allowed to go out, and we're starting to work again, so...
That's true. And as things open up, we'll have more to talk about.
Right.
We were actually talking, my roommate, myself, and his friend, what our first... And, you know, in a perfect world, if everything were to open up like Friday, right?
Right.
And it's just all open exactly like it was, whatever it is, where is the first place you go? You know?
Mm-hmm. Sushi.
Yeah?
I already told you, I think.
You did.
But,
You did tell me sushi.
because I love that place. And I feel like sushi at home is not the same. And sushi from the supermarket is not the
That's
same.
really not the same.
I mean, I think it's good still, but it's, you know, it's not what you want. You want real sushi.
Well, it's not fresh, right? Like,
Right.
even though it was made that day, it's the difference of being made that day or being made and then brought to the table.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Or on the bar, wherever you're sitting. No, I was talking with them, and I agreed that I could definitely go out to a bar, right?
Oh,
But I think the first one that I want is movie theater.
yeah?
I didn't realize how much I enjoyed going to the movies,
Yeah,
I think.
me too.
But there's something about the experience of, you know, you get your candy and your soda and your, you know, nice buttery popcorn, and you go sit in the big cushy chair, right? But you got to get the ones that are the recliners,
Yeah.
right? The big fancy chair, none of this old school shit,
No.
you know? I'll pay for that ticket every time.
Yeah,
I don't
me
give a
too.
fuck. I don't care how badly I want to see the movie if that's the only ticket I can buy. That's not true. If it's something that I cannot accept to get spoiled on, I would buy the shitty chair just to be able to see it,
See it, yeah.
and then I would go back and like have a proper
Viewing, yeah.
viewing. But
Totally.
Gotta get the information. Spoilers are the devil. And if you don't think... Well, actually, if you don't care about spoilers, that's fine. If you force other people to also, quote, not care about spoilers by just throwing them out there, you're garbage. And you belong in the garbage.
Yeah.
Fucking bury yourself.
Yeah, there's an episode of The Big Bang Theory where Sheldon spoils the 6th Harry Potter book for Leonard.
Mm-hmm.
And that causes a huge fight. But he just doesn't get...
Right.
He's like, I provided an interesting piece of information
Mm-hmm.
about the topic that you were discussing. And I'm like, I just could not... Like, and it was such a big one. And I was just like, I would freak out. Oh my... I would freak out so bad. And I can't... Oh my God. Spoilers.
Listen, because it's like, the thing about spoilers is you are taking something away from a person that cannot be given back.
Right, can never.
Right.
Right.
So that you are taking away an experience from them that they can never then have.
Right.
Right. It's awful. And there are people that think like that too. Like, that's not just him being the big brain, social incompetent, character that he is, but that's like, some people are just like, why? It's interesting. Why would you not want to just know it now?
Right.
And I'm like, because I want to experience it and have my own thoughts and feelings when I watch it,
right.
or when I read it, or
and if
whatever
it's
it
going to
is.
be sad, let my heart get broken,
Yeah, instead of reading up to it and you know it's going to happen.
Right.
You're
just waiting. Every corner
Exactly.
you're looking around.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, now that we've talked about spoilers, this week our hypothetical is concerning Avatar: The Last Airbender, because it just came out like Nick said, on Friday on Netflix. And we have loved this show for a long time. Nick more so just because he was older.
I was a little bit older, so I was able to maybe appreciate it a little bit more.
Right.
The parts that weren't just action.
Right.
But yeah, this show is 12 years old now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Isn't that ridiculous?
That's insane.
Oh, yeah. But again, now that it's on Netflix, it's getting a lot more...
Clout.
Yeah, what's the groundswell? A lot of groundswell in the zeitgeist, if we're using all the right words, But yeah, I mean, if you haven't watched the show, it is an amazing show. It's relatively short. It's only 3 seasons long. And you should definitely go watch it. We probably will talk about, do you want to talk about any kind of spoilers? Because we'll talk about characters that you don't know at the start of the show.
Right.
Right?
Which I guess is a spoiler, but it's not like plot spoilers.
Yeah, and if we do...
Also, I feel like we have some liberty because it is 12 years old. And most people know it.
So let's just make
probably
this an
already.
open spoiler conversation. For those of you that haven't seen it, I won't blame you for not listening to this. Go watch the show, come back and listen to this.
It is so enjoyable. You can probably finish it in I don't know how long, but super quick. No matter your age, I think that you would like this show.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, because even though it's kind of got that cartoony ridiculousness,
Right.
there's still character arcs and plot development and all the makings of a good show.
Right. It's funny, but it can be really emotional.
True.
But it's beautiful. Like,
Right.
I feel like there are some scenes where I'm like, let me go there.
Right. Well, it's the same. I think the whole notion that there are shows for kids and shows for adults, right, is kind of a ridiculous one. Obviously something like...
Bubble Guppies.
Right, Bubble Guppies or like Mickey Mouse's Clubhouse or whatever it is. Like, we are not going to get an experience out of that because it's very basic. It's for children, right? But something like this, where it is a cartoon that is, on Nickelodeon or was on Nickelodeon and is designed for kids watching Nickelodeon, doesn't mean that it can't have value outside of that for someone who can appreciate it at a more complex or deeper level, whatever it is.
And that being said, shout out to all the people who love Adventure Time and Steven Universe, and
Gravity Falls.
Gravity Falls. Those are all brilliant shows, and you're allowed to like things.
Yeah, you're allowed to like things, right? And a lot of people will tell you that it's cringe, right? But I think that the difference between something being cringy and you just liking something,
right,
is your self-awareness, right? Because there's lots of people... Have you ever seen... It's called the King... I don't know what the actual title of the video is, but it's referred to kind of colloquially as the Kingdom Hearts parking lot.
No, but
So
I know about Kingdom Hearts.
So Kingdom Hearts is a video game series in which basically... I think it started out as Final Fantasy characters, right? But then after a while, it's just anime characters, basically.
Well, yeah. But, like, I mean, Goofy's in it. And, like,
No.
Mickey
I
and
know,
stuff.
no. But I'm talking about not the Disney characters.
Okay.
So I think because it started as a crossover between Final Fantasy and Disney.
Oh,
Right?
really?
Because $1,000,000,000, right?
Right,
Those two.
yeah, that's true.
You know. But there is a level of person, and this I think can be said for anything, where you're talking full-grown adult in the cosplay, which is still fine, right? Enacting scenes from the video game, but unironically. Not like, afterwards, like, I kind of look goofy doing that. Like, there's not that level of, like, understanding. It's like, no, this is totally serious. Why would you ever not take this seriously? This is the level that we need to be at, you know?
I still think that's fine. And it is cringy, but, like, if they're enjoying it, like, I kind of like the thought of just let people enjoy what they like.
Well, and again, I think that's totally fine. But when people come after you for it,
Oh, yeah.
right, there has to be that level of like, yeah, it's a thing that I like, but I like it. Like there has to
Right.
be that understanding instead of like the crying scream fit of you don't understand how important this is,
Yeah.
you know?
I understand that.
The sanctity of the marriage of Sonic and Knuckles. You know, these fan fictions. Like when people...
Why
You know what
Knuckles?
I don't know. Whatever Sonic character you prefer to be with Sonic. Because Sonic has to be there. Right?
Well, yeah. I was just going to go into it, but I shouldn't go into that right now.
Into what? Your fan fictions?
No, I don't write or consume Sonic fan fiction, but I feel like there are some pairs with Sonic that work better than others. But that's not what I want to get into right now.
You're right. Tails is much more appropriate for Sonic.
gonna say
Oh my
Tails.
god. Oh my god.
And Amy.
Sorry to those of you who just got bodied in the microphone for getting kicked around. Oh, the sanctity of Sonic fan fiction. It's important to preserve it.
It is.
Yeah,
Creative writing, man.
I
It's
guess.
real life.
I suppose.
Anyway, we should get back to it.
So the thing that we're going to talk about in regards to The Last Airbender, this is a conversation. Well, it started as a conversation that we've had a lot as kids watching the show. Is like, which of the four elements would you bend, or would you
Right.
want to be able to bend? Those four elements being earth, fire, water, air. And we decided to have a little bit more structure instead of just screaming at each other and, throwing things about which is better. But to have an actual discussion of which is better between our chosen elements.
Which, I would like to say, disclaimer, this is not the bending that I would like to have. It's just what I think
Is best?
is best.
Now, we should clarify what we mean as best.
I think useful
Mm-hmm.
is a large part of it. Because in that show they get into a lot of sticky situations, and you got to kind of think, how would I get out of that if I
Right.
had this
It's
sort of
using
bending?
the power intelligently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of my main avenue. Just use.
Mm-hmm.
I also think there's a part to it a little bit of like, I feel like beauty's the wrong word, but like visual appeal,
Mm-hmm.
because they all, aren't the movements based on like kind of Tai Chi, martial arts kind of
Absolutely.
stuff? And that, of course, is fighting and actual defense and whatever, but it's also like really fluid, like beautiful kind of movements, I feel like.
Right.
So I feel like there's merit in both of those things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, no, I feel similarly, but I think the general usefulness of being able to control that element in that way, and just the aesthetic of it. I think pretty much anything that is a benefit or that is, neat about it,
Yeah.
I think is totally fair to bring into the conversation.
Okay, cool.
So, do you want to start or should I start?
Well, let's say I'm doing waterbending, and are you still doing earth?
I am arguing in the case of earth bending as
Yes.
the superior element to be able to bend.
Okie dokie. You are welcome to go. I mean, I have points, but...
All right, I'll get into this. This is not a good way to sit. I don't know. We'll figure this out. Just looked at the microphone like, oh no. So, earthbending. I think that, first of all, I mean, in terms of protection, right? the same thing as the other 4 elements. I mean, they can all be used combatively. I will start by acknowledging the weakness of earthbending in that if you are not on land, there is nothing to be done, right? That being said, earthbending can also extend into metal bending, which especially in the modern society, and I think they go into this in Korra, The Legend of Korra, which is the sister series of Avatar. In an industrialized nation, right, there is a lot more metal around, even if there is not earth around. So think about being either in an airplane or on a boat or stuff like that, which are largely considered to be the weaknesses. You now have something to still be able to use, right? Granted, I think metal bending is like only certain people can do it or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's kind of the extension of the bending, right? Because water bending and fire bending both have their kind of special extensions that you find out.
Right.
So you have to be super practiced to be able to do
control it. Mm-hmm. Exactly. But assuming that's part of it, then those weaknesses are mostly negated, right? The other factor is for the majority of people, they spend the majority of their time somewhere where earth is available, or at least underneath them, right? And even, again, if we were talking about using it today, as opposed to in the context of the show, which is like a pre-industrialized, like mostly agrarian kind of feudalism kind of thing going on, think about asphalt or concrete, right? Like, these are still things that are made of minerals, right? Because what is the extent of earth is kind of the question.
Right. I mean, but that's hard to, like, kind of decide where it stops, because it's not like they're going around saying types of rock.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
So I think that maybe things with rock in them might be more difficult to bend,
right,
but still able, you know?
Yeah,
You'd have to use more power, but, like, I think that it would still be something to do.
Because one of the episodes that I most recently watched, full disclaimer, in terms of my rewatch, I'm only about 9 or 10 episodes into the first season, which is almost all the way through it, actually. But I watched one in which they were bending coal. Like, just raw coal. Mm-hmm. But again, that's like rocks.
Right. So earth.
Right.
But you'd think, though, that earth, I feel like that would include, like, certain plants or trees, just because, like, I understand why it doesn't, but I feel like earth being seems very broad, so I think maybe it just might be, and if it can go to metal, then you gotta think that anything from the ground.
Right. Exactly. So, that being acknowledged, in terms of visuals for a fighting style, I think it gets points for the strong, kind of powerful movements. Earthbenders in the show, at least the good ones, are always generally depicted as being more physically powerful, so a lot more muscle on them and stuff like that for moving the rock. Or there's also a lot of, like, kind of WWE style that goes into it. There's a lot more, like, you know, what I would call, like, muscle flair, right? Where it's like, I'm not going to just push this rock at you. I'm going to drop kick it, you know, plant both of my feet in it and fall to the ground as I shoot a boulder at you.
Right. Well, I remember there's one episode where Aang is fighting the king of that earth. Bumi, the king of that earth. Yeah, the
king of Omashu.
Yeah. And he, like, gets a piece of earth up and I think, like, double kicks it. So he, like, jumps and uses both of his feet.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So things like that, or where, you know, you can still have some of the subtlety of moving things that are not liquid, but liquid-like. So things that are like a slurry, like from mining, you can still move because it's mostly comprised of earth, or the earth being wet can still be moved.
I wonder if there would be separation of it. Like, because you can only move earth, technically, if there's water inside and you start to bend it, do you think that the water would not bend with it? Unless it was, like, trapped between?
No, well, I don't think it trapped between, but if the earth is wet, the water is being absorbed and held within the earth. Okay. So it's the same idea of, I can move a paper towel, and if I drag a paper towel through water, I can still move only the paper towel, but it is holding on to some of the water. Okay. Right. But you still get some of that grace from situations like that, or even something like sand or gravel. Right. Actually, I think later on they talk about how sand is kind of not really bendable because it has so little form.
Yeah.
But something like gravel, like pebbles, you know, you still have a little bit of smoothness to it, right? The other thing, and I think the big point about that earthbending has over the other elements is its utility, right? Not necessarily in a combat sense, but you cannot build a house out of fire or air or water. Whereas earth, you could be like, for example, the city of Ba Sing Se, which is a plot point because the Fire Nation's like, we can't conquer it because they left one bridge in like a 3 football field sized crater to this city, right? So there's nothing that they can do except for go up the one avenue. Or even in that same episode you're talking about, Omashu has 3 like 4 foot thick stone gates that can only be opened and closed via earthbending. Right. Yeah. So the same thing for construction, as long as there is stone or as long as there is earth, you just throw up a house in like 3 seconds, you know? So the infrastructure, you know, I mean, if you want to talk about economy, there's probably some fucked up shit there because there's no benefit of making structure or houses.
Anymore, right.
Because everyone just gets one. Because why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, you could pay earthbenders to make a house.
Yeah. And I suppose that's true. But making all that money so quickly, because it takes like an afternoon, right? It's, for someone that's experienced, it's like boom, 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 roof. You know? But yeah, I think that's pretty much what I have to say about earthbending as being the best element.
I'm going to say right now that I thought of most of those points except, I think, the last one, which is a good point. But the reason that I chose waterbending is because I think that it's really underestimated in terms of its power. And what made me kind of really think about it, because I feel like we've talked about this a lot and had these thoughts a lot, but without having the ability to watch the show, I feel like you lose a lot of like information about it, because the way that they find Aang is Katara, who is a waterbender, uses the water by accident behind her to cut open a glacier. And so I think that it's underestimated in the sense that it's a really strong element, because yes, water is obviously, we swim in it, it's soft, malleable, whatever. And fluid. I feel like soft's the wrong word, but I want to say soft. But you can use it as a weapon and like cut things with it, because there are, I don't know what they're called, but people use water pressure to cut stuff like earth and metal and that kind of thing.
I'll just dub that. I don't know what it's actually called, but we can just dub it a hydro saw.
Hydro saw.
Yeah.
Okay. And so it's really a really awesome bending ability, because you can be very graceful and have it be super beautiful with simple water and a little bit of it, and people I think really appreciate that, and it's not like threatening, and it's, you can make so much from it, but it's also super useful,
right?
Also, the special extension, yours being metal, is blood bending.
Right. Witchcraft.
which is incredibly useful in times of war, however very evil to do.
Right.
So I just love the fact that it is so dynamic, of the going from very beautiful like movement to just totally being able to destroy something. And also I really enjoy the story arc in the show of Katara learning how to become a better waterbender, because in the beginning she can barely
move like a puddle.
Move a puddle, except for when she's high emotion and not thinking about it, you know?
Right.
And goes to being like incredibly powerful and really just an interesting kind of thing. Also, the one thing that goes against it being the best is its availability, right? Because
Well, I thought that was going to be one of your points, because people say that, oh, well, what if it's not available, right? In modern society, or even just in a geographic context, right? Outside of our own state, the most arid state, right? When are you not relatively near water?
Right.
Right? I mean, if you want to talk about it from the Carl Sagan pale blue dot kind of point of view, 70% of the world is water.
Yeah. I just feel like that you could separate a waterbender from water so easy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, much more easy than separating an earthbender from Earth.
Right.
Especially in that show where you're talking about agrarian, pre-industrial kind of thing. Because, like, in this time, if they didn't know how to metal bend, you just fly them up into the air.
Right.
Or you take them out on a ship. Or, you know, there are lots of avenues to do. But, like, waterbender, you're like, you're in a box in the desert.
Right.
And you're done.
Well, and the thing with, I mean, Katara's solution to that is to carry basically a water skin.
Right.
Which you could substitute, like, a camelback.
Right.
You know? And now you just have a couple liters of water at your disposal. Which is enough to defend yourself at the, you know, very minimum.
Right.
And
right. Well, and that's the thing, is that you don't need a lot. Like, and that's true for Earth as well. But I also kind of feel like
pocket sand.
Pocket sand.
You just have a bunch of gravel in your pockets that you're just like, it's basically a shotgun.
Right.
Right? You're just like,
you're like, pah!
Yeah.
Another thing is, I feel like Earth has one strength. You know? Like, it's just as hard as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's smaller, I mean, it's not like you can change.
You're saying the forms of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and also Katara in the very first, or maybe second, whatever, beginning episode, it freezes it.
Right.
Which is extremely useful because not only can you use it in a fluid way, but you can make it solid. Right. Yeah. Whereas Earth, you can throw a rock at somebody and it's gonna hurt.
Right.
But you can't, I mean, do much else with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And also one of the uses in, like, say it was modern, more modern at least, is, like, people's availability to water.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if something, like, really awful happens and the water gets contaminated or...
Right.
I mean, just get a waterbender.
Do you think, yeah, because could they separate pure water from contaminated water?
I think maybe, but I was also just thinking that it would be easier to move a lot more water.
Fair.
Without having to...
Pumps and buckets and...
Right, and that kind of stuff.
Well, and I was thinking, like, if there is the ability to freeze it, is there the ability to evaporate it? Right? Go the other direction and turn it into steam.
Yeah, I don't know if they ever talk about that, but if you can't evaporate it, can you control steam? Because it's just another form of water.
I would argue, yes. Again, that you're... In the same way that an earthbender is... Like, it's... the minerals in metal, right?
Then you can do.
That you might pull the steam out of the air as water, right?
Yeah, totally. Also, what you said about not being able to construct a home out of water. I mean, water, yes. But ice?
Are you Elsa now?
Igloo.
Igloo. This is my snow home.
Right? But, well, and that's where the water tribes live, is the South and North and South Poles.
Right.
Because that's... And I think that one of the reasons that Katara and Sokka's, like, tribe is kind of in snow and that kind of thing, she's the only waterbender there, and she wasn't practiced.
Right.
So I feel like she could have totally, with practice, built kind of a more fortified thing.
True.
The only thing is availability, too. Like,
well, like the North Pole. Right? When they get to the North Pole, it's this giant, elegant ice civilization with canals and shit.
Right.
Because they have more waterbenders.
Right, but the thing is, that's great and super useful, but it's no bossing say.
Right, because you can still sail up to it.
Yeah, right, because you can't put ice, like, on water and not be able to get to it. You can't put ice on land and not be able to get to it. Because I kind of feel like maybe they could do the similar thing to, like, Omashi or Ba Sing Se, but I think that it would be a lot more difficult because they can't move the earth around it. They can, unless it's all ice, in which case it would work better. But I just think that the strongest thing about the waterbending is the fluidity of it. And
True.
I've said that a lot, but I think that's
No, I
why
think you're
it's...
right. Because again, the ships sail up to you, right, in your
Right.
ice fortress, right, Superman style, and you're just like, I'm just gonna fucking tidal wave that
Right,
ship
that
real
too.
quick, you
Well,
know?
in the first... Again, I don't know if this is the first episode, but one of the beginning episodes when Aang kind of goes into his avatar state with his blue
Mhm.
eyes, and he's fighting the firebender ship,
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the things that he does.
Just drop a glacier on him.
Right, for
Yeah.
real. Like, super, just, boom.
Yeah.
You're done, son.
Just game over. Right.
Yeah.
Or, again, I mean, and earth and water both have the ability to immobilize someone, right? Where you're just like, and you're stuck.
Right.
You know?
And what are you going to do?
And what are you gonna do? Nothing.
I do think, though, that water bending is prone to a sort of weakness to the other bending,
Okay.
whereas earth bending maybe not so much. Because fire, like, if you freeze somebody who's a firebender and they can use fire to,
Right.
undo it. And air is hard to talk about because I feel like it's so...
Well, the thing
Like-
that obviously they never do in the show because it's meant for children, but I'm thinking about, could you just rip the air out of someone's lungs
Yeah.
and then just prevent it from going back
Right.
in?
Or just create a vacuum where they are.
Yeah, just choke them out,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Because that's the thing is, like, we've talked about the special extensions of, and fire bending is lightning.
Right, they get to be able to control lightning at high level.
But I kind of think earth or air doesn't really... Does it have one? I don't think it
Well,
does.
what would it be?
Right, exactly.
Right, because, I mean, Aang is an accomplished airbender. I guess flight, like, it's not a
Right.
different state of air, but it is a higher level ability.
Which is why I think they don't include anything or try and come up with something, because it is so... I mean...
Right,
You can just do anything.
Right.
It's around all the time.
it is.
But I still think that it's not the most powerful
True.
because it's air.
Yeah. Right. Because again, it is maybe individually powerful, but it is not societally powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I think is the big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Which is why airbenders are monks. Because
Yeah,
they just
there was
vibe in by themselves.
My question is, who fucking built those temples? Because only airbenders can get to the temples, right? Because it has to be from the air. Did they just sit there and actually, like, hammer and chisel that shit out?
Yeah, maybe.
That's raw.
Yeah. Or unless they had an earthbender friend and then banished them after...
Just booted them off. They're like, see ya, fucker.
No more.
There you go. Yeah?
Yeah.
Think that kind of wraps up your points?
Yeah, I think so. I might have had something else, but I think
It's
that
gone to the wind
it's-
now.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, that concludes our debate on as to which of the four elements in Avatar: The Last Airbender would be the most effective, useful, beautiful, etc.
Did you change your mind at all? Did I persuade you?
I think you had some points because as I was talking about the structure of earthbending and be able to, to form structures or buildings, whatever it is, I was like, oh yeah, ice. Like that's why they live there is because
Right.
they can just do that, right?
Right.
And same thing with snow too.
Right.
Is it's just crushed ice.
Because she does that. She moves snow.
Right.
Katara does, yeah.
Right. Well, and further, like, it's shown a couple of times earthbenders, like when they're taking that coal, they take a bunch of pieces of coal and compact it into one giant piece. So why would you not be able to do that with snow?
Right.
Of take this and just make it into an ice block, you
Yeah.
know? So, definitely opened my eyes up to that. And I think the concept of controlling steam is interesting because, I don't know, I feel like there's uses for that.
Hot steam burn.
Hot steam burn. Exactly.
Yeah, you had good points too. And it's hard because I want to be an earthbender so bad.
Which is why I'm surprised because you chose first. I'm surprised that you didn't choose Earth.
I just think that water is more powerful even though I want to be an earthbender.
Yeah, that's fair.
But maybe it's just because I want to walk around without shoes on, so
That's reasonable.
we might never know.
We might never know. If you have opinions about which element is the best, or we said something that you don't agree with, or we didn't say something that you think is a valid point, send it to us in the form of an email at hypotheticalsiblings@gmail.com. That's hypothetical, HYPOTHETICAL, siblings, SIBLINGS, @gmail.com.
Make sure to check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Reddit. Also, we are now on YouTube.
Yeah, so we save all of our podcasts on YouTube at search Hypothetical Siblings. Yeah, same logo as the podcast, the little blue and green alien ship type thing going on, and you should be able to find us relatively easily. Other than that, that's all I got.
Yeah, thanks so much for listening, and see you next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
Oh, fucking God.